The question is, who's listening? Robert Reich had a great phrase implying we socialize the richest losses as we impose the most cruel form of capitalism on the rest. I mean, I want you to listen to how he is talking about what the Fed's doing, what the Fed has done, of course, to help out the wealthy people who would have lost their shirts in the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank, and what he's doing with the rest of the economy, imposing the worst form of capitalism on the rest of us, as Reich says. Listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Mr. Secretary, after 2008, I would go around, I'd go to events, I'd talk to businesses, I'd say, how's your business doing? And everybody's, oh, it's terrible, it's awful. This went on for about a year, and everybody was talking about how horrible it was. And one night, I found myself at a table of bankers, and instead of asking how they were doing, I said, well, God, I know this has been a tough year for you guys. They started laughing at me. And they said, what are you talking about? It's been like the best year of our lives. And I'm still naive. I'm still naive. We live in a country that socializes losses, tells single moms to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, but we privatize gains. Have we learned nothing from 2008?
Joe, not only do we socialize the losses of the people at the top and impose the most cruel form of capitalism on most other people, relative to most other nations, most other rich nations, but also banking is no longer boring. I mean, banking, I'm old enough to remember a time in the 1950s, 1960s, when banking was boring because there wasn't very much money to be made in banking. Now banking is exciting. And after 2008, one of the goals should have been, we put in place Dodd-Frank law, we put in place stricter regulations. A lot of bankers, regulators in Washington said, well, now no longer is banking going to be exciting. The big profits are no longer going to be banking. But the fact of the matter is, banking is now about 35 to 40% of the entire economy, whereas 40 years ago, it was 15% of the entire economy. Banking is exciting, and as long as it's exciting, it's dangerous.
Mr. Secretary, these bank failures, of course, have put renewed scrutiny on some of the decisions by the Fed and interest rate hikes that they, of course, have done in an effort to combat inflation. We're sort of getting mixed signals throughout the economy as to what the right course should be. What is your opinion as what would be the right approach trying to balance this going forward?
Well, it's very, very difficult to know, obviously, because we don't know the future. But I think that the Fed should stop raising interest rates. It raised 1/4 point interest rates on Wednesday. I don't need it. I don't think it needed to do that. I mean, we've had 8 interest rate increases over the past year, the fastest rate of interest rate increases we have seen since the 1980s. And there's a lag time when you raise interest rates. You don't know exactly what you're going to do to the economy for another 3 to 6 or 8 months. So every time you raise interest rates, you're making a guess about what you're doing to the future. I would say, why not pause? Let's just stop. There is so much uncertainty in the economy right now. There's so much fear, and the waves are getting larger and larger. Let's just wait and see what's happening. I do worry about the possibility of a recession.
Robert Reich nails it. I've interviewed this guy 2 or 3 times, and he's saying the same thing he has been saying for years. And my question then is, who's listening? I mean, many of us, we all are listening. But when are we going to turn? When are we going to instantiate what he writes about, what many other good activists and economists who believe in an egalitarian society are talking about? When are we going to instantiate that? When are we going to put that into effect? The reality is we have to do it. Nobody's going to do it for us. We have to start now. And how do we start? It starts with who we put in office. We have to stop being hoodwinked and put in those in office who just do the same old neoliberal thing. We can do it, people. But you have to ensure you're electing progressives who understand that this economy is unsustainable. And when it crashes, and as it has crashed many times, not as bad as it will crash given the level of inequality, when it crashes, the ones currently who pay the price are the ones he talks about, the ones on which the most evil form of capitalism is imposed on. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.